Black cisgender heterosexual identified men are killing Black trans women. Black ones.
We are not talking about it in the church.
Those street guys are already engineers. If they're mixing drugs and stuff together, they're chemical engineers.
If you're just like, yeah, let's kill 50 cops just because, that's only a fraction of the Black people that they killed. Wait, now you're talking about my wife.
For those of you who are joining in, we are talking about just the housing in the Black community and owning property, why it's important, and how to get yourself in there.
When I think of financial literacy, I just don't think of the classroom work. I think some of it is practical application.
I'm scared, especially, calling them to arms, talking about poll workers or poll watchers. That is rooted in history of voter suppression and intimidation.
Joe Biden needs to make that a part of his educational platform.
Call that shit out.
I don't see much value in you speaking in tongues, and yet when you speak in English, you don't say nothing for my people.
Many of the reasons why we're dying is because of the conditions we live under that cause our health to be so bad, and that cause it's the food, it's the water, it's clean that shit up first.
When their fathers had prostate cancer, I had like a 150% chance of getting cancer, being diagnosed with cancer. I had a friend that did a raw vegan diet, 20 years remission, had thyroid cancer, never had surgery. I'm like, that's what I'm doing.
This week in Black People Shit. I'm your host, Chrystee Pharris. This week, the Dems brought out the big guns at their convention. Cardi B sat down with Jody B. Cat Williams stood up for Instagram, and Amber Guyger looked for her get out of jail free card. With me, as always, to discuss all these riveting topics is none other than actress and the leader of the North Carolina chapter of the McDuffie gang, Janora McDuffie, and writer, activist, and support of everything blackity black, Abdul Majid. And everybody, welcome. How you guys doing?
Other than that shirt, we're pretty good.
Don't talk about her shirt. You leave her shirt alone.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. Can you hear us?
I hear you. Are you okay? Can you hear? Are we there? Okay. Can we hear you, Janora? Are you speaking? I think we're having some technical difficulties. Janora, can you hear us?
Janora.
Okay. And are you there, Janora? I don't know. She's not really saying anything.
I see you, but I can't hear you.
Oh, no. Can you not hear me?
She can hear anything.
Okay. All right. Well, now we're having some problems, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's see if we can get her stuff all squared away. Let's see. I hope she can hear what we're saying. How's everybody doing out there? All the audience and everything as I try to troubleshoot, because this is what you're supposed to be doing. Janora, you might need to come back in again. Hang up and come back in. We might have to do that.
I'm texting her now.
Okay, good. As we're doing that, hey, everybody. As the 2020 presidential election grows near, the Democratic Party held their first all-virtual national convention to solidify their nominee. So now that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are officially the Democratic candidates, are they saying anything that Black people want to hear, or is it just more of the same? Before we get to that, Laura, can you hear us now?
I can hear you now, and I think this is all Abdul. With that fabulous introduction of my family from North Carolina representing every week and getting on Abdul's case last week, I think that was his secret ploy to mess with me technically before we even get started. Don't be scared. Don't be scared, Abdul.
I know. Go ahead.
My apologies, but I'm gonna get it together.
Okay, so what do you think? Go ahead and give us your spiel real quick. The Democratic Party, what do you think? Do you feel like, they're going to answer Black people and give us what we're looking for?
Well, we hope so. that's not a very good answer. Partly because I'm still trying to work on this technical. Now I'm on my phone. But okay, I'm not gonna let that slow me down or slow this passion and excitement for all things DNC this week. I have tuned in live both Monday and Tuesday, and not just to do my homework, but because I am a willing and excited and enthusiastic participant in this election, which means so much for the history of this country and the world. So I want to be a full participant. And I also don't want the wool to be pulled over my eyes, because I know, although Abdul does not think that I am any type conspiracy theorist, and I have drank all the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden Kool-Aid, I do know it's important to be informed. So that's really why I also tuned in. And it was great. I was so moved. Monday night, Michelle Obama, man, she was fantastic. But even leading up to Michelle Obama, I just felt like it was a really strong showing of what the Democratic Party looks like and what America looks like. And then last night, I'll even admit that this happened for me. Joe Biden spoke, and I have, I'm not a big on the Joe train, right? I support Joe. I'm voting. He had great sense to choose Kamala Harris to be his VP nominee. But I just thought of him as just old establishment white man trying to be progressive. But I got a chance to know a lot about him, and I really respect him in a different way I had not before.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed his story about his wife. Like, I didn't know all of that information. It made me go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I so really am starting to love her like I did Michelle Obama.
Yes.
Well,
you still got a little ways to go to be in that same sentence. But I get it, but
the point is that I didn't realize how much compassion and love that she had, for Joe, and the whole backstory, and how she out there running every day. She make me look bad, and I'm younger than she is.
Right. And then my last point before I toss the mic, as I still multitask with my technology and my lighting. I think that's a little bit better, that I'm not so blown out. But at first, when they did the nominees, or the count per state of the delegates, the ones that went to Joe Biden and then the ones that went to Bernie Sanders, I was like, oh, Jesus, we about to go through all 50 states. I'm about to fall asleep. But I thought it was really powerful, the way that it was done, the way that it represented all the states, including those that don't have a vote, but still cast delegates, like Puerto Rico and Guam. That's a whole nother conversation that needs to be had.
And it was interesting. It was interesting to see all of these different people too. You know what I mean?
Yes. It was. And learn about the country. But for me, what I also took from yesterday's showing was the sister who was chosen to open up the nomination for Joe Biden as our presidential nominee. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? The masculine sister who knew Joe through coming to the building, being in the elevator. Well,
loved her.
I was
like, I hope she don't get fired after this. And then I was like, well, we in a corona situation, so she probably was, she probably ain't got a job right now. But I was like, you ain't supposed to be taking no pictures.
I think all of that was taken before. But either way, to have her represent in such a powerful way, in such a huge platform, I, again, am all about images and representation. And how often do we see a butch Black woman do anything on mainstream TV? I thought it was great. I thought it said, hey, sis, you belong here too. I see you. We see you. And she had the huge honor of starting off the nomination process. So I'm a fan.
Okay, what about you,
wait tonight till my girl, so she gets her big day tonight. So I'm locked and loaded. I'm hooked in.
All right, Abdul, how about you?
So I watched. I think that the Democrats always tend to give a really good performance when it comes to the display of diversity and that's their presentation altogether. They're the Hollywood crowd. So they have access to the best of the best with regards to even the best presentation. My concern, and it's always my main concern, is what black people will get out of this. Because I know, so there's this big push that everybody's saying, oh, we need to get Bush out. We need to get Trump out of there. We need to get Trump out of there. He's a horrible human being, which I agree with 100%. He does need to get out of there. And I do believe that the Biden-Harrison ticket will be better for America than the Trump ticket. But I don't necessarily think it'd be better for black people. Because if you look back to when Obama was elected, Obama got they were saying the same thing about Bush. Bush is horrible. We need to get him out of there. He's just a bad person, the Iraq war and all that other stuff. And then Obama, President Obama got in there, and he did build the country up. He built the country up. I think in his first 3 years, there was 1,000 new millionaires per day in his first 3 years in office. And then at the end of it, I think there was like in some historical level of millionaires for the country while Obama was in office. Mm-hmm. The problem was black people had the worst time. They lost more wealth than at any time up until the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. Because black people have all their equity, their money in their homes, and because the rollout and what happened with it was called HAMP, I believe it is, Housing Affordable Mortgage Program that he had, and then all the stuff that they were doing for TARP, black people went underwater and lost so much wealth that it wasn't even funny. So yes, the country did better under Obama, but black people did worse. And I fear that the same thing is going to happen under the Biden administration, that yes, the country will do better, but black people will do worse.
There's a good point. I think that's what everybody's a little worried about. And I think a lot of people don't realize that that black people didn't do very well during the Obama time. I always couldn't understand why Cornel West and all those people didn't like Obama, and Tavis Smiley, which we're not going to talk about him because he got a lawsuit against him right now. But yep. I couldn't understand why. And then later I realized that Obama might not have really done that much for black people, except gave them a big boost morale and being able to see this black man in office. But as far as like money and I think the one thing that was disappointing with Obama, and I normally would never say this in front of a whole bunch of extra people, you know what I'm saying? Keep this in the house. But I was very disappointed that he did not take a stand when it came to the police brutality and the killings and all that kind of stuff. Just to say like, I'm sad because, it could have been me or a son or whatever. I was a little disappointed. I just want to give a shout out to Yvette Harris. Thank you for being up here. And so anyway, so my question is for the people who are watching. Wait. Let me just say this in the chat. For the people who are in the chat, how do you guys feel about Obama? Lord have Biden and
Obama.
If he's going to do anything for the black community, what do you guys feel? Okay, Janora, go ahead. You can give your 2 cents.
Well, I was only going to say, I just thought we were moving on to something else, and I just could not a last word in this conversation be something bad about my man. And I disagree. I mean, granted, again, I can't argue on the level of dates and points and certain bills because I don't know them that well to come at it that way. No, I'm not.
What did you say, Abdul?
I said, did she mean facts?
I am saying.
Doesn't want to talk about facts.
I would like to do more research to be able to come back in a more educated way, because I don't like to argue about a time in history and space, and I am not fully informed, because then it's not an even keel. So I'm not going to take back anything or challenge what you have said, except the part where not thinking Obama has done a lot, or him not saying talking out loud about things that happened in the Black community. He said, I was a young Trayvon Martin. I do remember him saying that. And so I think that
but if he hadn't,
Chrystee, you
if
said
he would have did anything, if he would have done something, maybe we wouldn't be in this position right now. If he would have taken action back then, maybe, you know, all of these new people that are just, you know, it wouldn't have happened. Or maybe we would have been making more steps towards something.
Donald Trump said more about the people in Charlottesville.
Agree with the second, but not the first.
Donald Trump said more about the people in Charlottesville than Barack Obama said about Black people getting abused by the police. That's a fact. He said they were good people. He said they were, if not all of them, he spoke more about the good qualities of the freaking Nazis in Charlottesville than Barack Obama said about Black people. Even when he was getting his nomination, and the topic of his Reverend came out, Reverend Wright, and he had to disassociate from him because of the pro-Black statement that Reverend Wright was saying. In that speech, all he talked about was how they're good people and his grandmother was racist, but she's a good person and things of that nature. It wasn't any sort of affirmation for Black people. It wasn't any sort of anything to uplift Black people. A cop violated a Harvard professor, and instead of saying something about it, he brought him to the White House to drink a beer. Instead of saying how wrong it was to violate a man in his own house, you brought him to the White House to get a beer because you were getting flack for not protecting the police.
Not protecting the police or not protecting the Black people?
Not protecting police. Everybody was saying how the guy was going overboard and how he didn't protect the police officer because the police officer was just doing his job, and Barack Obama was giving some pushback. And then the news media, the news circus, Fox and what have you, they jumped on his case. So I don't know. I don't have any faith in the Biden-Harris ticket because I wanted a progressive, and nothing about them says progressive. And you're on mute, Janora. Nothing about them.
Yeah, it was loud. Go ahead.
That was it. Nothing about him says progressive. And yes, I have to vote for it unless I go for the Green Party candidate, Howie.
Howie. Better not. That's just making a mess out of everything. You better not go for no green ticket. Tim says, Tim said, I think history will show President Obama had many missed opportunities. He had a democratically controlled Congress, and we only saw Obamacare, which passed on a party line vote.
Yep. When you get a chance, Janora, just look up the word is HAMP, HAMP. That's Housing Affordable Mortgage Program. That was the program that many Black people lost their shirt because they lost their house because they say 70% of Black people have their wealth in their home equity, as opposed to white people who are like 30%, something to that effect. Because of the wealth disparities, we keep all our wealth in our houses, and we tanked under that because of how it was handled, and because Guyger said the point of the program wasn't to help. He told Clinton this. The point of the program wasn't to help the people on homes. It was to help the banks. So TARP helped the banks, HAMP helped the banks, and people just lost their shirt left and right.
So all of you guys, and I'm gonna let you jump in, Janora. So all of you guys that are out there, if you guys don't know, Janora is usually on one side, Abdul is usually on the other side, and I'm smack dab in the middle. Abdul is the wealth of information. He's going to throw out the facts for you. Make sure if you guys have any comments, just definitely put it in there so we can bring it up because we got some really good stuff. Janora, I'm going to let you make this last point and we're going to move on to the next topic.
Yes, and it is a fantastic last point to end on. So Abdul, again, props and appreciation for you bringing in facts that I might have not been aware about, and for me to look up for myself. We can sit here for the rest of the show even and talk about Obama's record, but you know what? That's in the past.
it's time to move forward and into the future. So with the Biden-Harris ticket, I get your not fully, you being a little skeptical of the ticket and them not being fully progressive and towing this line, especially from day one, and the Republicans that were just like, yo, I'm jumping ship. So it seems like it's very moderate. But without hope, where do you go? What do you have to look forward to? I can't start something to be like, well, this shit ain't gonna work. Like, no, like, let's have some hope. And even in our skeptical moments, if there's not hope, what can we do to move it forward? So instead of being like, well, you know, they got the vote, then I'm gonna sit back. If we still don't believe, how can we be involved? And what can our actions do to take it in the direction we need to go?
Girl, Black people been riding on hope. Wait, hold on. Black people been riding on hope for I don't know how long. We tired of riding on some hope. We ready for some action. If y'all ain't gonna do no action, y'all need to get out. Go ahead.
Be part of the change.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff we could change, and we're trying to, but the only people who could really make it happen are the people who are up there. I mean, we're making strides, but how much all the stuff that we have done since George Floyd has been killed and all that protesting, what has actually changed? There's been a few little things, but has anything really changed, and is everything going back to normal? Go ahead, Abdul. I know you want to get your last.
No, the only thing I wanted to say was the time to ask for what you wanted was before the convention, when they were all candidates and we didn't solidify anybody. That was the time to ask for something. Now we got them and we didn't ask for anything. And the things that we did ask for, we got shucking and jiving. Speaking about shucking and jiving, what's the next conversation? What's the next topic?
Cardi B did a sit-down interview for Elle magazine with presidential hopeful Joe Biden that has received mixed reviews. So many people thought that this was progressive, while others thought it was pandering to a certain demographic. So do you think Cardi B did a good job in this interview, or did they use her to make Black women look bad? And we know she ain't Black, but you know, she's, you know,
well, she's technically Black.
Yeah, that's true.
Black. Her mother's from Trinidad, so.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so there you go. So what's your thoughts? Well, we still on that.
If Kamala can be Black, Cardi B can be Black too. I can't even explain it, but either way, we are not going back to that conversation of trying to define what's Black and what's not.
No, please no.
You can definitely look at it in different ways. Did Joe Biden know who Cardi B was? Does he bump to her when he goes for a run with Jill? I doubt it. But does he recognize the demographic that Cardi B brings to the table that might not normally be voters? Yes. And so if he wants to, and I don't want to say use her, because Cardi B had a choice to say, yes, I support this. No, I don't. And recognizing Cardi B's power, for good or for bad, she's got some as a celebrity and a dope rapper. I mean, you know, that could be debatable if you want to come at me with that too. But either way, I feel like, sure. Now, I know it's also on the tail of WAP. And I know everybody has different opinions about wet and gushy and what that means in terms of representation for Black women. But I've done some research since we last had this conversation and the video dropped. And I feel like there are just as many women who are just like, nah, like, yeah, hey, pro, feminine, own your body, own your power. So go ahead, Joe Biden, use all your tools, because we need all of them to beat Donald Trump.
I think it was smart. I think it was smart for them to do. I think it hits the demographic of the young generation who's probably 9 times out of 10 are not watching the Democratic Party, you know, nomination and all that kind of stuff. We're not watching that stuff. And I think he has to, it reminds me, not quite the same, but if I had to make a little bit of a reference, like to just show the two, but it was kind of like when Bill Clinton went on Arsenio Hall show. It wasn't until then that I was paying attention to him. I wasn't paying attention to him, to Bill Clinton. When he went on there, I was like, oh, he on the Arsenio Hall, because I was young. I was extremely young. And that was important to me. So him getting interviewed by Cardi B, Biden getting interviewed by Cardi B was smart to me.
I don't like to disrespect Black people publicly, but I think if you wanted to attract a particular demographic of people who were Black, you could have got Issa Rae. You could have got the young woman from Blackish. You got a whole host of people. The difference, you brought up Arsenio Hall when President Clinton. The difference is it would be more comparable that if at that time Bill Clinton had a sit-down interview with Flavor Flav, because that's more online of where Cardi B is as compared to. So if he would have did that, if they would have did that, if they would have sat Barack Obama down with Flavor Flav, people would have lost their shit. So I just think my conspiracy theorist mind doesn't think it was a good look. I thought it was pandering. I thought it was pandering to the lowest demographics of us. They didn't really speak on any issues. She just talked about how she felt. She didn't ask any pertinent questions about his policies, about what his plans are, about a Black agenda, about anything. Even something as simple as what was your thought process to getting Kamala, like anything. She just talked about her feelings. Yeah. That does not. All these college-educated people, even non-college-educated people who can come up with several answers to just press them a little bit just to get something out of it, but got her.
I just think that, there's a lot of people who are on that level with Cardi B who are not going to be asking those type of questions. I think she was on a level with a lot of people that they're just asking the basic questions. Healthcare. She talked about healthcare. She talked about police brutality. She talked about the pandemic. So I think she catered to the people that's what they're asking. And, you let somebody else, somebody like Issa Rae to ask the more important questions that are, I guess, college educated type questions. So
and I think Christopher Marquise Ely is bringing it. Flavor Flav vote counts just as much as a guy with a master's degree vote. I think he's right on. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Abdul, about the people he could have chosen that might have represented a stronger Black woman or Black representation. But I think that there is a whole audience that only pays attention to Cardi B that might not pay attention to a Issa Rae.
The difference between, Flavor Flav's vote counts as much as a person with a master's degree. But this wasn't about a vote. It was a public conversation. And that's the difference, that you were asked to sit down and go toe-to-toe with this guy to present your concerns or anything else. And that's different from a vote. A vote is one man, one person. She was representing a swath of people, a whole swath of people who were looking for her to say something or act something or do something. And I don't think you got it. And I would have, and let's just go from the optics perspective. From an optics perspective, it didn't look as good as, he was calling himself Joey B, and the optics of it didn't look good. And it didn't look good for Black women. Not to say that she is representation of all Black women, and not to say that but there's a time and place for everything.
Right.
And I think she was out of place with what we needed at the moment.
But don't you think that she represents I don't know. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I just lost my thought, a question that I had in my head, but I hope that he will do more interviews with other people, is my point. He catered to that that demographic. I think part of the issue that I used to have with a lot of presidents in the past is that they would only do these high up places. And that's why people like Tavis Smiley got upset, because Obama would not come to his type of show because it was a Black show. And I give Biden some props because he came down to a level of people who were young, they're 18, they're 17, they're 20, they're in that age range, that a lot of people are not going to be watching a Tavis Smiley show, even though it's not on the air anymore, or a Roland Martin show or whatever. So I give him props for doing what he did.
No, I agree with you. Access matters. Having the ability to access the hopeful president or the presumptive, nominee president could happen before the nomination. Access matters. It matters in our careers. It matters in education. Access matters. So I don't disagree that being able to access the president, regardless of where you come across, is a problem. I have a problem with the optics and the representation. That's my concern. The optics and the representation.
Well, maybe what Chrystee said will hold true, and that this is just the beginning of a whole spectrum of people he will interview. And then also just recognizing that everybody's vote counts, no matter where they are on the spectrum of I don't know, intelligence or.
Right. I doubt it, just because before that he wasn't really doing a lot of interviews with anybody. He was doing maybe one-offs every now and again. And now he has to prepare for a debate or several debates. So I doubt it. He already got the nomination. So.
And pull up, if you can, Elliot Bear's comment. Oh yes, and Elliot and I went to high school together. Hi, Elliot. Thank you for watching. But actually, it was his last one about meeting voters where they are. But what are the odds Trump does public event with Luther Campbell? And it's mostly about meeting voters where they are. This is where we are in politics. Trump happily does public events with Kim Kardashian, whose celebrity began with dirty videos. So, Elliot, and Elliot's in the political arena himself. So whatever he says, I'll believe.
Abdul, you want to answer that question about
Kim Kardashian? First of all, it's Trump, so you can't put on the level of Trump. But Kim Kardashian, even with her whole history, doesn't come off the same way as. I'm trying to be nice about this. That's what I'm trying to figure out. We have this whole thing about ratchet culture that in the Black community, we love ratchet stuff, and then we promote and it affects our communities more than any other communities. So Kim Kardashian can do whatever she wants, but it doesn't affect the Armenian community. If you had Shoot 'em Up Joey up there talking about guns and burning and smoking cocaine, would you stick him to do an interview with Kamala Harris? You wouldn't. The optics look bad. The topic looks bad. So I understand meeting people where they're at. I get that point. Everybody has a part in this process. But I'm saying that the optics of it and the amount of access that you have, how many bites you have at the apple, I just don't know.
I got something for you on that, Abdul. You are begging and wanting somebody to be progressive and not moderate. How about this act of sitting down with Cardi B is progressive? Moderate would have been the Issa Rae. Moderate would have been the safe Black woman if you want to have somebody from the Black community. But Cardi B is pushing the envelope. He's giving you what you want, but you can't see it because you don't want to go with Joe Biden.
That's different. No, you're talking about progressive optics. I'm talking about progressive policies. There's nothing about that's a distinct difference. I want his policies to be progressive. I don't care if he talks to Joe Schmo the crackhead. If his policies were progressive, I'd be more behind what he was saying. That's all.
So I guess we'll wait and see, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
With hope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. So here's the next thing. I don't know if y'all know this. This is so important that y'all need to know, and we need to make this sucker trend. But many Black people are upset that former Dallas police officer Amber Guyger, y'all remember her, who was convicted of murdering Botham Jean last year. Remember the white cop that went in, was like, "Oh, I thought it was a burglar in my house," and she was in the wrong house, the wrong apartment building, or the wrong apartment. But she's looking to get her conviction overturned due to lack of evidence, while at the same time, many celebrities like Kim Kardashian, Monica, and Meek Mills are advocating for the release of rapper C. Murder, who was convicted of murder in 2002. Now that there is new evidence, for C. Murder, now, do Black people look at murder differently when it's perpetrated by people they like? What do y'all think? First of all, I'm just mad at the Amber Guyger thing. I'm really upset at the fact that they are trying to overturn it. If that happens, there needs to be an uproar. I'm sorry, but if that chick gets off and ends up not spending 10 years in jail, then I think people should go off.
Do you know what the problem? You know what the problem with the retrial is going to be?
What?
And it's that on a bunch of fronts. The main character, the main person that they had that they were using to his next door neighbor, he actually got murdered. The guy got murdered, so he's not around if they do it. Yeah, he moved to a new apartment building, and they robbed him and they murdered him. So when they do a retrial, they can use the statements from before, but he's not there. The other part is they were saying there was lack of evidence. The other part is that they were saying they should downgrade it to a not manslaughter, but something less than manslaughter. And they wanted to take her thing from 10 years to 2 years, which means that she would get out sometime next year. The C murder thing is that they found new evidence, and that several of the people in 2002 who testified against him recanted their statements. And then he also found some new evidence that they're saying they didn't say what the new evidence was, but yeah, people recanting their statements and they have some new evidence. So they're saying that he should at least get a new trial because he's in there for life because he killed a 16-year-old boy, I believe it was, shot him in 2002. So do I think black people? I gotta say, as sad as it is to say, I think we do. I think when we dislike somebody enough, I think we will allow a lot of things to happen until the point where we don't like them anymore. And not just this case, something as like the R. Kelly case. Like we let it roll because we loved his music. And until a documentary came out to put him on Front Street, then we started disliking him. So I mean, it's sad to say, but sometimes I do think that if we align with somebody a little bit more, we let them go. I mean, even not to keep talking about it, but even something as simple as when Jay-Z came out against Colin Kaepernick saying we're done with kneeling. Everybody was like, yeah, we're done with kneeling. And now people like, Jay-Z, what the hell are you talking about? Are we done with kneeling now? I saw a lot of those memes pop up after the George Floyd thing. So I do think that whichever way the wind moves, if we like a person, we'll roll with them a little bit more than we do if we don't like somebody.
I think we do. Forgive a lot easier, a lot quicker, especially with the whole Christianity thing. I think we do forgive. I think we shouldn't. There's in some cases, but just like Michael Jackson, y'all still to this day can't tell me nothing about no Michael Jackson. I don't care what y'all say. Michael Jackson is my man. Still love him. And we don't even know if it's really true or not. Dog nabbit. But as far as I don't know. I mean, that's tough. I mean, every situation I feel like is gonna be different, but I do think we do roll with people. But I didn't roll with R. Kelly. Once R. Kelly that whole thing came out the very first time, I was done. So
well, I think feelings are one thing. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think feelings are one thing, and I think the law is something else. And I think the law, as it is applied to Black folks, is something else. So in other words, Amber wanting to have an appeal, Amber Guyger. I didn't want to just call her by her first name because, like she's my homegirl, and she's not. Point I'm trying to make is, of course, if I'm in jail and I'm locked up, I want to use every bit of the law to help me be free, right? Now, her desire to want to get out of prison has nothing to do with what she did. It just has to do with how the law is written and how the law is applied. And it is unfortunate and fucked up that the law continues to be applied differently to people of color. I mean, we can talk more again that shows for the next 5 years about how the criminal justice system is skewed not in the favor of Black folks and blah, blah, blah.
But what are your thoughts?
So the point I'm trying to make is it becomes frustrating when you have people like C Murder who has like DNA evidence that doesn't match, or who has like witnesses who recant their statements, and he's still in jail, where somebody like Amber who went in there and did it. And we know that if it was a Black man and a white woman, that he would be under the jail, or he wouldn't even see the light of day to even be able to have an appeal. But it's because it's this white woman and we feel so sorry for her. I mean, granted, whether it was just this horrific mistake or not, the law is written where she can appeal it. But it just sucks that it's just different. And I feel like that's what we should be fighting. And I wish I knew how. But I think that's what we're up against, is the difference in how the law is applied versus just her trying to get out.
You know what the problem is, though? And I'm not going to try to backtrack on this. I know this is a previous conversation, but it's you get better disparities from, because I think black people are 6 times more likely to get convicted from the same crime that a white person would. I think you have to have progressive legislation, and you have to have progressive people in there to push those legislations. And it's sad to say that this law and order ticket that we got ain't the progressive ticket that's going to get those legislation done.
Oh.
Because if you look at their history, they have a history of not being progressive with regards to the justice system. That's all I'm talking about now, just the justice system. So we need to put more progressive people in there we're at a time now where we're talking about disbanding police or justice reform. We can't have the same old pushing the same old talking point.
Let me ask you, out of all the people, even though we know Joe Biden is, the nominee, which person did you feel would have moved things forward that obviously didn't get nominated?
Probably Bernie or Warren. I think they're a bit more progressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, what I will say in Kamala Harris's defense and behalf, Abdul, don't you make that face up there. I see you. I think it also takes someone on the inside who knows the law and who's been inside to be able to be like, oh, well, this is how it can change. This is why it can change. This is what can change. I'm not saying, yeah, and I totally think that's what she brings to the table. I know that there's debate and frustration about her past record in many instances, but I think it's a new day, and I think it's a new climate, one that is specifically fertile for this change. And I think because she knows the law so well and has represented it, is the one to start in that direction. And I think she already has with some of the things that she's proposed in the Senate.
I think if you look at, let's cut off everything past when she was in the Senate, because everything that she's been accused of doing was when she was in the state state AG and the state whatever. Even though she made truancy a crime, we'll cut that off, right? Everything that she said after that, when they asked her specifically, "Are you going to do anything for black people?" She said no. She said, "I'm going to do. I don't plan on doing anything."
Tell me that interview.
I can absolutely show that interview. I can absolutely show that. She said no, and she said that she gave the Obama answer that a rising tide lifts all boats, even though we know under Obama that wasn't even true.
Okay, so we need you to pull that up. We'll play it on our next show.
Okay.
And we're gonna really have to see, because I know a lot of people in San Francisco are not happy with Ms. Harris because she did a lot of stuff down there that they're not, especially with people of color, that they're not happy about. So
she made truancy a crime.
She
made truancy a crime at the same time when it was like the start of the opioid addiction, and people were saying that people who are addicted to something should not be looked at as criminals, which I agree with. If you're addicted to a substance, if you're addicted to alcohol, if you're addicted to drugs, that shouldn't be considered a crime. That's a medical condition. But then looked at someone who has truancy issues as a crime instead of a social, communal condition or an educational condition. That to me was that not even the act of it, the line of thinking to say, I want this done, so I'm going to force your hand by sticking you in jail instead of getting you the resources to help your child. So that line of thinking bothered me.
Right. So the people out there who don't know what we're talking about, a while ago, Miss Harris, Kamala, she was sending parents to jail if their kids were truant, if they were not going to school.
It had to be 10% of the total year of schooling. That's what the number was.
Now wait, hold up, because I got to defend my girl and just defend the direction that we are going and need to go in this entire conversation. I will quickly address my idea about truancy, and that is maybe it came from the idea of maybe if we hold parents accountable to what their kids do, maybe their kids wouldn't be so bad. But in that same sentence, I recognize that everybody doesn't come from a great parent situation or home. It is unequal. If it
80% of Black kids come from a single parent home.
Pardon?
80% of Black children come from a single parent home.
Right. So I'm saying like maybe it came out as like, man, that's a great idea. Cause first saying it does sound like a great idea, as in parents being responsible for their kids, but it doesn't take into account everybody's situation. What we should take into account is people change, people evolve, people look at past things and say, you know what, I could have done that better. And that's what we need to allow for. Evolution of thought, evolution of heart, looking back, learning from that and moving forward. We can't stay stuck, y'all. In 2020 here, November about to be here. And I do understand the idea of, or the desire to want to hold people accountable to, all right, what y'all gonna do for us? What are you gonna do? What are your policies gonna be? And I think after these next 2 fabulous days at the DNC, that's what we need to these are the questions that need to be answered. And I think that they will, because I think they know it's called for.
Well, I wonder if she's going to do anything. I think there might be some issues in that area. I really don't know how much she's going to move forward on some of the things that are going to help the Black community. And maybe I'm looking forward to seeing if she makes some changes. Let me just get to this question. I am covering up your face. My bad. We need to be very careful with the memes we see on Kamala Harris. There are a lot of misinformation on her that is getting out because people are quick to believe memes on her without actually looking up what is posted in the memes about her. There are real criticisms to levy against her, but there is a lot of nonsense on her record getting spread that just isn't true. And you know what? Rush Limbaugh right now basically called her a hoe, said that she was sleeping her way to the top. And I know DL Hughley, he has his show, and he was talking about, wow, could possibly be on your deathbed. And usually when people are on their deathbed, they kind of like make a change and they change. But he was saying that Rush Limbaugh, I can't believe that you would say something like that about her. So, but that's another part of the thing that they're always trying to put Black women down. So we know that those type of things are going to come out. Go ahead.
So what I would like to see are people defending Kamala being called a hoe in the same way that they are actively wanting to talk about her record. Like, I want to see Black folks stand up and be like, "No, Rush, you're not gonna do that." No matter what you feel about her record, like, just as a person, as a Black woman, I feel like that's an opportunity for us to come together and be united on something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, can I answer?
Go ahead.
Answer 2 questions because I saw 2. One person said, "I'm sorry, but the lack of I'm sorry, but the lack of people never take accountability." Hold on. And then another person said, "Personal responsibility is lacking in the Black community for way too long." First of all, that's not even 100% true. If you look at majority crimes, all crime directly comes from wealth and finances. The thing about Black people is if you take it from a 1-to-1 ratio, Black people as a whole save more money than any group of people. That was an article put out by, I can't remember the name of the people, but they did a statistic about Black savings and wealth and how much Black people saved and wealth. The fact of the matter is they didn't have a lot of wealth to save. Black people do take responsibility. The problem is that they lack resources, so they revert to crime to get things done. Mind you, their rate of crime at Black people are the same, and actually less than white people. White people are 2 to 1 for every crime. So to say that black people don't have responsibility, there was a study done that shows that black fathers spend more time with their kids than any other racial group of people. Like this notion about blackness and how we're not these people said it, but we're lazy, we lack responsibility, we don't take accountability. That's not true at all. That's actually the opposite of truth. The problem is that when you put people in a pressure cooker, people respond with using drugs, people respond with mental issues, people respond with alcohol. Poverty in itself takes a bigger toll on black people than I think damn near anything else that's been done. That and systemic oppression, the fact that we don't get the opportunities. So to put this all under the case that black people are not accountable, that's a blatant lie. That's not true at all. Not even close to being true. We don't have access, we don't have resources, and we're put in jail at a higher rate for the same things that other people do. That's the problem.
You know, I wanted to just add too, it's interesting you were talking about being lazy and all that kind of stuff. I had a Wikipedia that my grandparents had bought from a long time ago. I know it was before, like, I think it was 1976 or prior. But one of the things that it said, when you look up Negro in that encyclopedia, it said lazy, big feet, big nose, and then it talked about them being slaves and everything. That's what it said in the actual thing. I was just like, oh, I just couldn't believe that was in a encyclopedia that I had read from years ago. So I think it's just also something that has just been said over and over again, and we even feed into it ourselves. Go ahead, Janora.
Great. So that's fascinating, Chrystee. I'm glad you brought back the idea of having encyclopedias that we can pick off a bookshelf and look something up. Man,
don't mean it's always accurate though. It means that it was sided one way. Now, wasn't it?
Right. Now that is true. What I would like to bring up, Abdul, I think the problem is the generalizations. I feel like, absolutely, are we as a whole community under-resourced, greater number of poverty, lack of education, but not for lack of trying, but lack of access and all these other things that we can relate way back to when we were in chains and shackles, blah, 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 forward to the history. But the point is that I don't think your whole adamant, it's far from the truth that we don't take responsibility is not true. I do think that again, the problem is generalization. You cannot put all people in one single category because there's not a single Black experience for anything. What I do believe, though, is yes, there are some people that do need to be called out. There are some people who are like, nah, the man, now it's you. Now get up. No, you can do something. And I'm not saying that that's everybody's chance and experience, but I'm saying that it is a relevant point.
But I also I just think, I'm gonna just add this real quick. I just think sometimes that, we say that, but I mean, how long did it take me to get out of the mindset and change the way that my thought process was from things that had been planted in me or said? I had to work my way out of that thought process. And I think some of them have that same process because it was embedded in them. So it's hard to get out of it. It's hard to get out of it if your mindset is not trained right. I mean, white people don't. Well, yeah, and white people don't get. Their parents are like, look, they tell them straight up, like, they let them run around. They don't tell them don't do that. A lot of times we were told those things because they knew that we was going to get killed. We knew we weren't allowed to look at people or do certain things, when we were slaves and stuff like that. So there's that side of it too, as well.
Yes. The lack of responsibility for Black people, for their accountability for Black people, is so untrue for the fact that when we do things, we get reprimanded and thrown in jail for it. There's no lack of consequences for the things that we do. So to say that we're not being held accountable is to go against the whole 2 million Black people in jail or more. We do get held responsible for our stuff. We do get thrown in jail for our stuff. When things happen, we get put on Front Street. It's not like this notion that when we do things wrong, that we aren't held responsible for the things that we do. My problem with the people were saying in the chat room was they were saying, oh, the problem with us is that we lack responsibility. when every statistic you can look up shows otherwise.
I'm not talking about the criminal justice system, or you do something wrong and you get put in jail when Tommy gets a slap on the wrist and sent back home to his daddy to figure it out. I'm not talking about that.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about when you miss a couple payments on your home and they kick you out of your home at a higher rate than they kick anybody else out their home. I'm talking about the fact that when your kid gets in trouble in school, they're faster to put them detention, the principal's office, suspension, more than any other group of people. That's not true. Jail. Those are consequences for the things that they do. And we get held at a higher level than any group of people for our actions. That's a fact. It's provable.
Yeah. And it's also interesting too. I remember, and you just brought up something like some old wounds, but I just remember every single class that I was in, there were only 2 to 3 Black kids in the class, and all those kids were bused to school. There were only 3 of us, and all of the Black kids were always pushed in the corner, every single time, always, from kindergarten all the way up, and they weren't even that bad. But as soon as they would do something, they would be pushed in the corner, and it just continued on until they ended up dropping out of school.
Yes to both of you. Those yes, and yes. But what I am saying is that I'm talking about using it as an excuse for yourself and your inaction. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not saying like you do something and you are punished to a higher degree than your white counterpart. What I'm saying is sitting on your ass and not doing nothing and saying it's because of the man, or your kid gets in trouble and it's because of just not taking responsibility. But
what if it's true?
I'm saying yes to myself as well. So I'm not disagreeing with you guys. I'm just saying that there's a whole other component of excuses that we have.
Right.
That
I agree.
But what if it's true?
But I also think that there are some people that just can't get out of that, suppression. You're lucky. You came from a 2-parent home. You had people. I'm sure there's times when you get in a rut and you don't want to get up and do something. Imagine that times being in a situation where you are living in the hood and ain't got money and ain't got food and that's hard to get yourself motivated to get out of it. Now, I'm not using it as an excuse. I'm saying giving some compassion to some of those people who might have those situations that are pushing them down.
Yeah.
And the other part, hold on, Janora, the other part I wanted to say is that I'm not saying Black people should use it as an excuse, but some of it is absolutely true. Yes, the system do hold Black people back. Yes, Black people can't get certain bank loans. Black people can't move in certain communities. They cut off where Black people can access education. Like some of the stuff is absolutely true.
So yes. So when do we take it upon ourselves to be like, you know what? I'm sorry. It's only because I couldn't hear you. Did I cut you off, Abdul?
No. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. I'm all about love and I'm all about moving forward. So when do we say, like, you know what? This is a fucked up area and situation and history that I've inherited. When am I gonna?
I think it'll start
to not move forward, to not get an education because they said I can't go to that school. Like, when are we gonna just fight?
It'll start when we start to educate and spend time in the community to help those people who cannot get out of that mental damage that they have had. And that takes a while because although I've always been progressive and have always had all these blessings that come my way, you know what I mean? There are moments when I still have those doubts and those things that were planted in me that I have to fight through. But a lot of people don't know how to fight through that stuff. So how do they get to a place when they can change it? And again, I'm not making excuses. I'm saying, but listen, when the money ain't there, life gets hard. Shoot, it gets, when I was trying to be an actor, when I was, in the beginning stages of my acting and I didn't have that money, man, let me tell you, I would get depressed and just want to give up. And imagine if you're in that for your whole entire life. You know what I mean? It's hard to get out of that. And go ahead, because we got 2 minutes.
I'll just say one thing, then we can go to BPS Person of the Week. I think how we get out of this, outside of the communal things that we've been doing, because there are programs. We have tried to build our own communities and got bombed. There's like a lot of atrocities that happened when we did try to lift ourselves by our bootstrap, which is something else we'll talk about at a different time. But the really way it could happen is that when you have our government officials advocate for the people as opposed to advocating for corporations and bank. And I'm sorry to say, to bring this thing full circle, the people we are about to elect do not do that in any way, shape, or form.
Well, the best thing about what you said is the people we're about to elect. Woo!
And what I'm gonna say, I am all about the people that we're about to elect, but please, please, please make a difference in the Black community. And not just the Black community, but the community that has been suppressed. It's not just Black people, but there's a big, huge community that has been oppressed. And I'm praying that they will make those changes. And I pray that we will stay up on them and make sure we press them to make it happen. So that's what I got to say. On that note, we're going to get, what'd you say? Oh, and get out and vote.
You show up to vote.
Yes. Please, please. I would like to go to our BPS of the week. Every single week, we like to honor somebody who is in the community, who is doing something that is special, that is uplifting the community. Abdul, can you bring her up for me? So,
yes.
Our BPS of the week is a 15-year-old who is promoting diversity in literature, a native of West Orange, New Jersey. Marley Diaz found herself being frustrated with the lack of Black female main characters in the school books that she was reading. So, at the tender age of 11, she started a book drive called #1000 Black Girl Books, which was designed to attract attention to the lack of diversity in children's books and to donate books to kids in need. Now, at 15, she recently released her first book entitled Marley Diaz Gets It Done. And so can you. She is the editor for the Elle-sponsored online magazine, Marlene Mag, and was in the 2018 edition of Forbes 30 Under 30. She will also host a family book series for Netflix, was recently a speaker at this year's Democratic National Convention. For all of your outstanding accomplishments and your continued strive for excellence, we here at BPS We are honored to nominate you as our BPS Person of the Week. Continue your great work because we are all rooting for you. I'm Chrystee Pharris, and that was This Week in Black People Shit. Is there anything that you guys would like to just promote real quick before we jump off?
Kamala Harris will be accepting the official vice president nomination tonight. I hope you all tune in.
Christoph, I agree with you. We do need to mobilize and bring our issues to whoever is, whether it be local or national or statewide representation, and bring our issues to them.
Yes. And again, Christoph and Chris and Anthony and Kimberly and Carlin and Muff. I know I shouldn't be calling you Muff. That's not your name on here. But Carlin and Elliot, I think I said them already. I just want to say thank you, all of you, for watching the show. Please like and share. It can be kind of challenging to promote the show. So we want to make sure that we get it out there. And you can also share this episode after it airs, after we end this broadcast, and let everybody see what we're talking about. We'll be back next week with some more current topics. And later, in about 3 weeks, we're going to have some friends from Passions, which is James Hyde and Rodney Van Johnson. Rodney Van Johnson played my dad on the show, but we're going to have our Passions group come on here, and our honorary Black man, James Hyde. We put our honorary Black man on here. We're going to come back and have some great discussions with current events. So we will chat with you guys later. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a good one.
Also, I didn't get jumped by the McDuffie, so that's a good thing.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.